Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. Today, we're going to be focusing on, you know, the Faroe Islands,
Yep.
and we're really going to get into all the stuff that's happening there, from politics
Good
to
there.
news to sports and even the weather.
Yeah, we've got a
Yeah.
pretty packed agenda.
Yeah. So I guess let's just get right into it. Starting with the politics. What's the latest there?
Well, there's a lot of buzz right now about potential coalition talks between Folkeflokkeren and Sambandsflokkeren.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, and this is coming off, the heels of the recent election results. So,
Right. Yeah. Of course. And then there's that whole thing with the housing loan fund.
oh yeah, the Huslandsgrunnen.
Right, who's Grennan?
I always trip over that one.
I know, right? It's a mouthful,
Yeah.
but yeah, it seems like that's attracting some attention.
It is. The Luktingstranska are calling for a discussion about it in Parliament.
Right, the parliamentary auditors.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's definitely something to watch.
Definitely. And on that topic of Parliament, Siri Stenberg actually withdrew a proposal.
Oh, really?
Yeah, regarding work promoting initiatives.
Ah, interesting. Why is that?
It seems like there wasn't enough support for it within the coalition.
Okay, so moving away from Parliament for a second, what's happening in the news?
Well, there's been quite a stir, let's say, at the national broadcaster Kringvarp Føroyar.
I heard something about that. What was it about the director?
Yeah, Ivan Nicholson. He was actually dismissed and then reinstated.
Wow, what?
Yeah, I know, right? It's caused quite a bit of commotion.
Yeah, I bet. So why? What happened there? Do we know?
Well, the staff were pretty shocked by the decision, and there have been some legal challenges following it, so it's all up in the air right now.
Okay, so anything else happening locally?
Let's see. Well, there was a fire at an asphalt plant near Journir.
Oh no.
Yeah, and there's also been a report of dogs killing geese and sheep in Torsham.
Oh, geez, that's awful.
Yeah, not good.
Okay, well, is there any good news out there?
There's this really heartwarming initiative. It's called Vit Skriva Jolakort.
Oh, that's nice. What is that?
Well, school children from all across the Faroes have sent out 10,000 Christmas cards.
Wow.
Yeah, just spreading some holiday cheer.
That's lovely. That's really nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess shifting gears a little bit to more international news. Did we hear anything about the fisheries agreement with Iceland?
We did. They've actually finalized that for 2025.
Oh, they have. Okay.
Yeah, they're going to be maintaining the existing terms.
Okay, so no big changes there.
Nope, business as usual.
All right, so now for something a bit more fun, let's talk sports. What's been going on?
Well, our Faroese football players have been on a roll lately.
Oh, is it right?
Yeah, we've had players win cup finals in Iceland and in Denmark.
Wow, go be a key team. That's fantastic.
I know, right? And there's actually a chance for another win today.
Really?
A Faroese player named Johannes is competing in the Norwegian Cup final.
No way. Come on, Joanne, you can do it.
Fingers crossed, right?
Yeah, for sure. So any other sporting news we should know about?
Well, TB's handball team, they had a close loss against Kiflev. The final score was 3-2.
Oh, too bad. So close.
Yeah. And then Scoopy secured a win as they head into their winter break.
Nice. And how about the women's handball team?
Oh, yeah. They finished their EHF Euro campaign.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I guess last but certainly not least, we've got to talk about the weather. What's in store for the Faroe Islands this week?
Well, it looks like it's going to be pretty windy.
Oh, no surprise there.
Right. The wind's mostly going to be coming from the west, and you can expect periods of heavy rain as well.
Sounds about right for December.
Yeah, pretty typical.
All right. Well, we've covered a lot of ground already, but we do have a couple more updates.
Oh, we do. Okay.
Yeah. So first up, it looks like the details about ownership within the Faroes fishing industry
Yeah,
have been made public.
that's right. It's all accessible now.
Interesting. Okay. And what else?
Oh, and there have been some changes approved to the adoption and parental authority laws.
Okay, great. So I guess that pretty much brings us up to speed on everything happening in the Faroe Islands.
It does for today, at least.
Yeah, for now at least. But wow, it's amazing how much can happen.
Right. Even on a group of islands.
It really is, and it's so interesting to see how, even though these events might seem separate.
Yeah, like a fire over here, a political debate over there.
Right,
Yes.
exactly. But sometimes it feels like there are these underlying threads connecting them all.
I think you're right about that.
Yeah, and it kind of makes you wonder, what stands out to you from today's news.
That's a good question. Let me think.
Is there anything that like really surprised you or made you curious?
You know what? I have to admit, that whole situation with the director of the national broadcaster
Yeah.
being dismissed and then reinstated,
Yeah,
that's pretty perplexing.
it really is. I'd love to know more about, like, the reasoning behind all of that.
Yeah, me too. It definitely raises some questions.
For sure. For sure. What about you? Anything jump out at you?
Well, for me, it's got to be the news about those potential coalition talks.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's something I'll be watching closely.
Yeah, I mean, the political landscape can change so quickly.
It really can. And those changes, they often have a ripple effect.
Right.
They affect other areas of life on the islands.
Yeah, exactly. It makes
Hmm.
you wonder, what impact those talks, if they actually proceed,
Yeah.
might have on things like the fishing industry or social programs,
It's true. It's all connected, and that's what makes, following the news from the Faroe Islands so fascinating.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Even seemingly small events
Yeah,
can have these, far-reaching consequences.
they really can, and you never know what's going to happen next.
Exactly. And that's what keeps us coming back for more.
Right, exactly. It's
Yeah.
always something new and exciting.
All right, well, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll
Okay.
delve a little deeper into some of these stories and explore some of those connections that we were just talking about.
Sounds good. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too.
Yeah, it really is. It's like, it's a small place, but there's always something going on.
It is, and it is connected to the rest of the world.
Oh, absolutely.
Like
Yeah.
even when we think about, those fisheries agreements with Iceland,
Yeah,
that's not just, a Faroe Islands thing.
exactly. Yeah, it has implications, internationally.
Yeah, for trade
Yeah.
and the environment.
For everything, yeah.
Pretty amazing. But I did want to circle back to something we talked about earlier.
Oh, okay.
Those potential coalition talks.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I find that really fascinating.
It's super interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. And I'm curious what you know about these two parties, like
Uh,
historically.
Folkeflokkeren and Sambandsflokkeren?
Yeah, have they worked together before?
I can't actually recall a time when they formed a coalition government.
Me either.
They're usually kind of on opposite ends of the spectrum, right?
Yeah, I would say so.
Like Folkeflokkeren, they're generally considered center-right, and they focus on, economic liberalism and those traditional values.
Right, whereas Sambandsflokkeren.
They're more center-left.
Okay.
So they advocate for social welfare and, greater autonomy within the Danish realm.
So what do you think is making them, even consider working together now?
Well, it's hard to say for sure, but
Yeah.
maybe the election results kind of forced them to rethink things a bit.
Yeah, maybe they need to find some common ground.
Right, and it could be, a specific issue,
Yeah, like what?
like maybe that debate over the housing loan fund,
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
the Husalansdrinnen.
Yeah, could be a starting point.
Yeah, housing is a big issue,
It is.
especially for, young people and families.
So maybe they both see the need to, make some changes there.
Yeah, maybe some reform or increased investment.
It's wild to think that housing could be the thing that brings these two parties together.
It is. It just shows you how connected everything is.
Right.
Politics affects everything. Economics, social welfare, culture.
Speaking of cult,
Yeah.
loved that story about the kids sending out Christmas cards.
Yeah.
So sweet.
It's heartwarming, isn't it?
It is. It really shows the sense of community there.
Definitely. It's like people coming together, especially during the holidays.
Yeah. But then, you have that other story about the dogs
Oh, right.
attacking the sheep and geese.
Yeah. It's kind of a contrast, isn't it?
It is. It's like, on one hand, you have this kindness.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, you have this disruption.
Right. Like a little microcosm of life.
Yeah, exactly. Like harmony and conflict, tradition and change, all these things kind of balancing out.
Yeah. Always in flux.
We talk a lot about the Faroe Islands, beautiful landscapes,
Right.
unique culture.
Of course.
But at the end of the day, it's real people
It is people living their life.
facing real challenges.
Absolutely.
It's easy to romanticize a place like that.
Yeah. To see it as some kind of escape.
Yeah, but it's not. It's a real place with real issues.
Exactly. And those issues are what make it so interesting.
It makes me think about that whole thing with the director of the national broadcaster.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think there could be a connection there to the political climate?
It's hard to say for sure, but it
Mhm.
wouldn't be surprising if there were some political tensions there.
Right, and I was thinking about how Kringvarp Føroyar,
Yeah,
it's publicly funded.
it is. And that means it's subject to political influence.
Right, different parties might have different ideas about it.
Exactly. And a change in government could lead to changes in funding programming.
Even leadership.
Yeah, potentially.
So this whole thing with the director. could be, part of a bigger picture.
It's possible, and it really highlights the importance of a free press,
100%.
especially in a democracy. When media outlets are under pressure,
Yeah.
it can be hard for them to hold those in power accountable.
Yeah, and to, just inform the public.
Exactly.
It's something we can't take for granted.
No, not at all.
Okay, so let's shift gears again.
Okay.
Back to the economy. I'm really curious about those ownership details that were published.
Oh, yeah, in the fishing industry.
Yeah,
Well, transparency is super important.
it is why.
Well, for one, it helps ensure accountability,
Okay.
and it helps make sure resources are managed sustainably.
Right, and fairly.
Exactly.
Do you think this is going to lead to any big changes?
It's hard to say, but it's definitely a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
It could lead to more informed debate
Yeah.
about, fishing quotas, profits, sustainability, all that.
And with the EU,
Right?
the Faroe Islands have to be careful
Yeah, they have to navigate those regulations.
to keep that access to the European market.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
a balancing act.
It is to maintain their traditions
Yeah,
while also, keeping up with the global economy.
right. A lot of island nations face that.
Makes you wonder what the future holds.
It does. It really does. It's a microcosm, of what's happening in the world. Globalization, climate change.
But they've held on to their identity.
They have. It's remarkable.
It's something to admire.
Definitely resilience, adaptability.
Yeah, it's inspiring.
It is. It shows that you can thrive and maintain your traditions.
Even in a world that feels chaotic.
Exactly.
Maybe we can all learn from them.
I think so.
What a great thought.
Yeah, maybe we can find new solutions.
By looking at these smaller places.
Right.
Wow, I'm feeling inspired
Me too,
and informed.
as always.
So let's shift gears one last time
Okay.
and take a look at some of those, smaller stories that we didn't get to earlier.
Yeah, the ones that might fly under the radar but are still important.
Exactly, like those changes to the adoption and parental authority laws.
Oh, right. Yeah, those have been approved.
Yeah. What can you tell us about them?
Well, the specifics are a bit complicated.
Right.
But
Yeah.
basically, they're trying to modernize the laws around adoption,
Okay.
taking into account how families look today.
Right, making sure everyone's rights are protected.
Exactly. And it's interesting because these kind of changes, they often spark bigger conversations
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
about family values, individual rights, tradition versus progress.
And it's not just about the law itself. It's about what it represents.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so one last thing before we wrap up.
Okay.
That news about the ownership details in the fishing industry being made public.
Right, right.
What do you think about that?
Well, like we said before, transparency is key.
Yeah, especially in an industry like fishing.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
so important for the economy and the environment.
So this is a good step.
I think so. It can help make sure things are fair and sustainable.
And it lets everyone, fishermen, consumers, policymakers, have a say in the future of the industry.
Exactly. Informed decision making. That's what we need.
Well, I think we've covered just about everything.
Yeah, I'd say so. We've gone from politics to Christmas cards to fishing.
It's been quite a journey.
It has. And, even though we couldn't get into every little detail,
Right.
I think we've got a good sense of what's happening in the Faroe Islands right now.
I agree. And I think what's really interesting is how all these things connect,
Yeah.
like how a decision in Parliament can affect the fishing industry.
Exactly. Or how a local initiative can reflect the values of the whole community.
Right, it's all connected.
It is. And those connections are what make it so fascinating.
So as we wrap up today, what's one last thought you'd like to leave our listeners with?
I'd say this. Pay attention to the Faroe Islands.
Yeah.
Because they're a microcosm of the world.
Yeah.
What happens there, what they do, how they face their challenges,
Yeah,
it can teach us all something.
that's a great point.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that, even a small place
Yeah.
can have a big impact.
Absolutely. And their story is our story in a way.
Well said. Well, I hope you've enjoyed our deep dive into the Faroe Islands today.
Me too. It's always a pleasure talking about this stuff.
And as always, we encourage you to keep exploring.
That's right. There's always more to learn.
Until next time.
See you then.